Going on, everybody? So we are doing things technically different today, so let us know if you can see us. What's going on? Welcome to Atticus Live.
Yeah, we got a new boat. Can you tell?
Yeah, so we are in an air-conditioned office once again.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, it is so good.
Yeah.
All right, so can you guys see us? Can you hear us? Let us know that everything's going good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically we are in Shelter Bay Marina in Panama at the moment, and as we had just said, loving the air conditioning.
So nice.
It is just so amazing. But yeah, so thanks for showing up, guys. Thanks for coming. We've got Goulash75, John Harvin, Warren Drams, Carlos Berlanga.
We got Gib.
Nice one, buddy.
Yeah.
Way to get in there. Bill's Toys, Trevor Panther, Mike Pastor, Dark Doggy, John Harvin.
Hector Vega.
Hey, what's up,
I don't
Hector?
know if you said that already. Daniel Oliver, as always. Thanks so much. Oh, your brother Jim is in the
Hey,
house.
Jim, what's going on, man?
And then my brother might be joining, and my mom also. But anyways, yeah, we thought it would be fun to kind of dive into a little bit of the behind the scenes of our latest episode with David. First of all, and then we'll kind of transition over into talking about how coronavirus is affecting our plans and our paperwork and our visas and all that, and then move on to what kind of boat projects we're doing in order to still prepare for the Pacific crossing, which we're still on schedule to do, so that's really exciting.
Yeah, so if you are watching this after the fact, you can just, if you're interested in one of those topics more than another, just check out the time code in the description, which one of us is going to have to do. I don't know which.
Yep. So I guess that's me.
Yeah, I think it's you guys. Sorry.
Yeah. So it seems like you guys fell in love with David as much as we did, and it's funny because we had to. This episode was really difficult for us to put together because we had to go through a lot of footage and we cut a lot because David was pretty much at our boat like 8 hours a day.
Yeah, between David and then a lot of the other people that came by.
Uh-huh.
And that was actually something that we weren't really able to capture in the way that we would have liked, was just the raw amount of visitors that we had. Uh-oh.
That's the radio.
We got a radio
We're
on
in the
here.
marina manager's office.
Yeah.
So his walkie-talkie is going off.
Yeah, which, Wanho, if you're watching, thank you so much. This is great. But yeah, so we weren't able to fully capture, just how many people came and approached us and talked to us. It was sort of like an all-day event. And so it was definitely tiring. I mean, we talk about it a little bit. Desiree talked about how she was, introverted and like her brain was going to explode and all the rest. But it's easy to kind of understate just how kind of like much energy that requires. You know what I mean? To be able to talk to people all day long and kind of have your personal space, like. Okay, so we're going to. There we go. Yeah, to just have your personal space, like kind of like become one with the village for a period of time, and so that was something that was hard, and I know it was harder for Desiree than it was for me.
Yeah, I think by like the fourth day we were at that anchorage, I had a V birthday where I just stayed in the V berth and I asked Jordan to just handle all of our communications. And so he was totally on his own, and I would just hear him being like, "Como? Huh?" Okay. So it was really funny, but yeah, David is awesome.
Yeah, and Torque Engineering says, my wife really freaked out seeing all the surprise visitors you had. Really sort of put her off the sailing idea. Seems like that could be dangerous. Huh. Well, so I would say I don't think it was dangerous at all, because we left out a couple of, what do we call it? Like sacrificial things that would be very easy to steal, right? Mm-hmm. And we just kind of want to get a sense, like if it was stolen, it would be more valuable to us to know that there are people that steal things in the area than to lose the object, if you get my meaning. And so our sacrificial little things weren't stolen. I don't think it was dangerous at all.
Yeah. And I will say it was really cool knowing David and his family, and that they were like a Cayuco ride away, because I don't know, it just felt like we were taken into the community in a really awesome way. And it was funny too because David was always at the boat, so he would kind of give us his opinion of like his neighbors as they were like, paddling up to Atticus, and I'd be like, what do you think about those guys? And he's like, those guys are bullies, I don't like them. Or, like, oh, those guys are great, whatever. So it was kind of cool to get the inside scoop with little David.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it was definitely, what would you say? Like, I wouldn't say dangerous at all, but I would say it is good to know that you need to be, what's the word? Like, you can end up in situations where even if you want to just have like a chill day in like your space and not talk to anybody, you might not have the option.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I mean, that's very particular to anchoring next to an indigenous village that sees cruisers as a way to like, get stuff from town. Yeah. So, there are a lot of other anchorages where nobody comes up and interacts with you. But it is kind of funny that in our first 20 minutes there, we were asked for line, rice, clothes, solar panels, Jordan's watch,
binoculars. And when we say asked, it was just, typically kids, but not always, asking for us to just, give them those things. And that's something that is such a huge topic. It happens to us a lot. It happens to us from time to time, depending on where we are. And it's something that we've had to cultivate a strategy for.
Yeah.
Because when we first start cruising and, somebody approaches the boat and they obviously live in a way where they have, very little compared to us, and they ask us for something that could obviously be useful to them, early on we're like, yeah, okay, sure, you can have this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then if we would do that, word would get out and we would get a ton of people asking us for stuff in a way that's just, now it's not sustainable at all. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but it, you're almost conveying yourself, you're communicating with the local population saying I'm good for stuff, right? That is the kind of person I am. I will give you my things. And once that gets out, you get treated very different. And so we've been careful, but would you say on point in trying to actually cultivate a strategy? So when people approach us now, we actually have a plan in place.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we've learned that, again, not to just give stuff away. Instead, we always try to ask if we can buy fruit or vegetables that are grown locally, or if we can have a tour locally. And then beyond that, if we get along with someone, like David, before we leave, we'll give them as much as we can. And it's not actually a lot because we provision Atticus for exactly what we need because Atticus is so small.
Right.
So it was funny because we were in the same anchorage with another boat, a bigger cat, our friends Molly and John, and they had a lot more to give. They've got 2 kids. They had a lot of clothing that they were saving up to be able to donate in situations just like this.
That their kids had outgrown.
Yeah. And so they were giving stuff away left and right. Actually they were bartering. So they were getting tons of coconuts and bananas and stuff. But our kind of policy was just from the beginning not to give anything away, and then to buy things with actual cash. And so I think we didn't spend more than maybe $20 the whole time we were there. We bought octopus, fish, bananas, coconuts, oranges, toronja.
Yeah, I mean, we really could have just lived off of the food that people brought.
Right.
And so, I feel and especially because, when someone comes up and asks for something for free, and then a fisherman comes up and says, I have this great fish that I'd love to sell you. You also want to be fair too, you know what I mean? You don't want to be we don't want to be random in who we just give things to. And so we've just found it's just always trade and always attempt to get a fair price. And so you guys probably saw in the video, David, kind of pulled a fast one on us.
Cambio de planes.
Cambio de plan. Or no, okay. I always get this wrong.
Cambio de planes.
Cambio de planes. That's it. It's like the best phrase ever. Change of plan. But yeah, he, was going to sell the grapefruits for 10 cents each, and then apparently they were bigger than he thought they were going to be.
But
and he went up to 50.
Right.
And it was still within our range of like a decent price.
Yeah.
But we've had some people come up and be like, I'll sell you some mangoes for like $20. And at that point, again, you're getting into that realm of you don't want, if you're going to be somewhere for 2 weeks, you don't want people to see you as like either a sucker or like just a floating ATM, you know what I mean? And those are like real concerns. In my opinion, that almost becomes a problem. It gets in your way of actually connecting with people, right? And so anyway, that's like something that we weren't able to really express in the video, but it really is a thing. Like actually having to like have a strategy, stick to that strategy, and then kind of deal with the stressfulness of it. I mean, do you want to talk about that?
I will say, like, torque engineering, to your wife, like, again, we like anchorages that are very off the beaten path, and we like interacting with local indigenous communities, and so for us, like, we seek that kind of experience. So, cruising does not have to be like that. So wouldn't like worry about it too much.
Yeah. And wandering naps aboard MV Illuminati. Currently they're in the Bahamas. They haven't seen many other cruisers. Seems like COVID has scared off many cruisers. Have you noticed less boaters than normal? And I think maybe that had something to do with why we got so much attention in Bluefields, was because I think there's more boaters than that normally, right? Now, I think it's the kind of thing where I think that Anchorage, you're typically the only boat. But typically there's a boat there, right? And then when one leaves, maybe a week will go by and then another will come, something like that. But with COVID, I don't think there had been a cruiser there in months.
And actually, George Morstad was asking, did you meet his parents? And that was really kind of funny for us because all of the kids in the Anchorage were totally free during the day. And we learned later it's because the parents and like the older kids were working their fields, using this time now to just like sow and plant, and they call it chopear, like clear out as much land as possible to just build their fields. And so a lot of David's parents, actually, his father works in tourism generally, so he runs tours out of Bocas del Toro to really cool kind of off-grid anchorages on a little powerboat or panga. And so he hadn't had work for since March. And so David, just during the day, also their schooling has been canceled since March. So basically David, just during the day, he either has to help his parents chopear and do the field, or he's allowed to fish all day. And he loves fishing, so we'd see him out on his cayuco just fishing. And so, yeah, he was such a cool kid. And it was really hard to like figure out what to cut and leave in there because he was super resourceful. Like, he had a little hole in his cayuco, and he would, like, try all these different things to, like, stuff it. And I don't know, that sounds so simple, but, like, imagine a 12-year-old kid in a boat that's sinking and, like, just figuring it out and not relying on anyone around him to kind of help him out. And then he caught his bait with, like, a pillowcase. He and his friends would go in the shallows, and they would, like, hold this big, we call it a manta, like a sheet, underneath the water, and then wait for like 10 or 20 minutes till the fish didn't see them, and then they'd bring up the manta, and then they'd have all their bait for the day. So anyway, we're just enamored with David, and I think it's cool that you guys saw that as well.
Yeah. So a couple of somewhat off-topic questions. First of all, congratulations to Anthony DeLizzi and Nicholas Anderson. They both recently purchased Allied Sea Winds.
Really?
So congratulations.
That's cool.
You guys now own a very old, very small boat. I hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, but she's a great boat. So there's a lot to like.
Yeah.
Real quick, Nicholas Anderson says, do you use your wind vane with your mizzen? And the answer is not very often. Really, it's just when we go downwind. It's not the best scenario for a wind vane and a mizzen. We are more and more using our electronic autopilot, and we're looking at upgrading to a pelagic, which is actually made by the same company as Monitor Wind Vane, our wind vane. Mm-hmm. It's just a really, really strong, robust electric tiller autopilot. So as much as I'd like to use our wind vane, I like using the mizzen, and you can't really do both. Mm-hmm. And then, real quick, Nicholas Anderson also says, any tips, having bought a Allied Sea-Wind 30. And I think our biggest tip is like don't give up and go sailing as soon as you can. You know what I mean? Like, do the projects, whatever it takes, get the boat ready to go for a short cruise and go do some cruising,
And then we were actually talking about this today with Jordan has been installing our water maker and having to go through our electrical panel, which we redesigned from scratch when we bought Atticus. And so what we talked about this morning was, how we designed it is totally ridiculous. Terrible.
How we designed what?
Our electrical panel and system.
I like that she says our and we. That was all me. Yeah.
But had Jordan been intimidated to do that, we might have never left the dock. And so he did it, and it works. But I guess I would say don't be afraid of making stupid mistakes, because that's kind of how you learn. And maybe your next boat will be a little bit more sophisticated.
Yeah. I mean, the Wandering Naps just, reiterated the don't give up thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on with that advice, I think, because it's really, I am now that we've been doing this for years, I'm dealing with projects that I've technically already kind of done, and I just did it terribly. And I was trying to do it well, but there's just so much to learn that it's extremely hard to do everything really well or right, So on the one hand, if you go so slow that you do everything just right, even though you're green and you're learning everything, it's probably going to take you a long time, right? And so in a way, just kind of try and get your hands dirty and make mistakes, and that's just going to be a part of it. And I'm still just dealing with that all the time.
Yeah.
With the electrical panel, I never, with a good electrical panel, you should have all the wires going from the actual breakers to bus bars on the wall, and then you can harness all those wires so that you can open your electrical panel, and those wires have enough give, right? And then the wires that you run through the boat connect to that bus bar as well. And so that way you have a nice, neat, tidy arrangement. I just eliminated that bus bar, so all of our wiring goes directly to each breaker on the panel, and so it's just a rat's nest back there. Yeah. I mean, I used the appropriate wires. I don't think it's a fire hazard, but it's just a total mess back there. It's a nightmare, and it's all my fault because I started from scratch, and it could have been so beautiful.
It works.
Yeah.
Michael is asking, when cleaning fish, Jordan tosses the remains overboard. Do you guys have any concerns about attracting sharks, knowing you'll be jumping in the same water at some point?
Yeah. Desiree has a lot of concerns about that. Yeah.
But there's as far as the innards, I'm only worried for the hour surrounding gutting the fish. And then I just don't really enjoy swimming at night in general. Sometimes there's gorgeous bioluminescence, and you can actually see the fish swimming through the water. And Jordan really likes hopping in at night and swimming in the bioluminescence and making angels in the water. But and I used to be cool with that, and then I just learned more about sharks and their nocturnal feeding habits, and I was I'll stay on the boat at night.
Yeah. But I think I think that you're pretty darn safe,
Yeah.
right? It's sort of like, I think a perfect analogy is, are you afraid to drive on the freeway? Because in a way you should be. I mean, really bad things could happen to you there. But it's just a risk that most people are willing to take. And
Right.
that's exactly how I feel about sharks.
Yeah.
It's the probability is low enough where the risk is absolutely just worth it for me. Now, if I have like a bucket of guts, fish guts, and I dump it overboard, and we're in somewhere like the Bahamas where there's a lot of sharks, I'm probably not going to swim for a little while.
Yeah.
I will give you that. Yeah,
And
I'll give you
we
that.
haven't been spearfishing in waters where there are like really aggressive sharks who actually come up to you and like try to mess with you, like we've seen in other spearfishing videos. So that will be an interesting learning curve for me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just try to like think about probability and try to calm myself. And I know that my like fears sometimes are irrational. When we were in Bocas del Toro, we were anchored next to this boat with like, I don't know, 7 kids, and they would like flail around all day and scream. And at one point Jordan was like, if neither of them have been attacked by a shark, like you're probably pretty good in this anchorage. And so I was like, yes, thank you, children. I feel very safe.
So we've got a couple people asking about our plans with the canal, the Panama Canal. William Herring is asking how much are the canal fees. Louis Saron was asking, are you crossing the canal soon? How much is it for your boat size? Do you plan to go to the Galapagos? Well, first of all, the fees, I think, are going to be somewhere in the vicinity of $2,000, all said and done. That includes renting lines and fenders. That includes the agent. So that's not doing it all ourselves. That's doing it the easy way. Somewhere right around $2,000. And we're hoping to go probably late December, early January, something like that. Our plans are kind of fluid at the moment, but and in fact, something that's cool is I actually got to go through the canal on our neighbor's boat this last weekend, and it was mind blowing. It was sort of like, I kept describing it as, it's almost like you're hallucinating because you see these giant ships, but then like one will be above you, like moving, and you're like, what the, you know what I mean? Your brain is just, it refuses to accept that it's seeing what it's seeing, and like, yeah, and then when you're in the locks and the water's flooding in, like, it's a lot gnarlier than I thought. I thought it was going to be a very, very, just, everything is very not exciting. It is exciting. Like, it's kind of crazy. So anyway, I can't wait to do it on Atticus and film it. So we'll be heading through in not too much time.
And then Phil is asking, will you haul the boat out and do maintenance before you go through the canal? I don't think we're going to haul out before we go. Most of the projects that we have, we can do in the water and the slip. But we just did the bottom, I guess that was like 3 months ago.
Probably more.
So
probably like 6 or 7.
Yeah, we do have to get the boat fumigated to go to the Galapagos. And then as far as a little bit of our paperwork and kind of how coronavirus is affecting us a little bit right now, our tourist visas expired during the lockdown. And so the Panamanian government is giving people in our situation like a 30-day grace period. So we need to get out of the country relatively soon. The problem is that Jordan's passport expired during the lockdown as well, and we've been having a crazy time trying to get the paperwork in order to renew his passport. So
yeah, it's been a long ordeal. Like, it's, oh my gosh. I mean, the embassy is not taking appointments because they're not working very much because of COVID, so we're in the middle of like a giant mountain of paperwork right now. Between the passport, between like Galapagos stuff, canal stuff, and then French Polynesia stuff.
Yeah, we're applying for our extended visa for the Marquesas or for French Polynesia, but the French embassy as of right now, apparently is not granting visa extensions. So we're kind of hoping that will change the next couple of months, and then getting our paperwork ready for that if it does open up. And then the Galapagos, 2 things that we need to have that we don't have. One is AIS, and then the other is we need P&I boat insurance. And we've been self-insured on Atticus since the beginning, and I've been contacting boat insurance companies who've basically just been laughing at me because of the value and age of Atticus, and just the fact that I just want P&I. They're like, do you know what you're asking us? We definitely don't do that.
Yeah. And
So-
in fact, somebody was just saying how, Michael Reich was saying sailing Zatara said Galapagos was very disappointing and not worth the high visa costs. And we've heard that from more than one person, multiple groups of people. And it's definitely something that it's something that we're considering is it going to be worth it? At the end of the day, I think we both just think it's going to be such a life-changing experience that we can't pass it
We're
off.
also super into nature.
Turtles.
Yeah, tortoises.
Love tortoises. Oh my god.
Yeah, and
they're
so
amazing.
and history, and so we're kind of a little bit probably more nerdy than the Zatara folks. So we might. It seems like I don't know. We'll see. Like it just seemed it would be crazy to see all these tortoises running around, and penguins in the tropics.
Yeah, and like the diving, and that'll be expensive too because you got to go with the company. But still, if we get to see hammerhead sharks and stuff, I mean, I'm totally open to the possibility that we'll go and have the same exact opinion, be like, well, okay, that was definitely not worth it.
Right.
Because not only is it expensive, but it's a lot to do, including this insurance thing, right? We have to get insurance to go there.
Yeah.
We also have to get an AIS transponder, and that we don't have, and so we're going to have to buy that and install it. And
pretty expensive.
so, I mean, and the AIS transponder will be awesome to have. But the insurance, is anybody going to actually insure us?
I
have
don't
no
think
idea.
so. If you're out there and you want to help us out with insurance, take pity on us.
Yeah, they're like, when was your boat built? 63. They're like, yeah, no, okay, goodbye.
On some of the websites I was using, they didn't even go to the 60s for the input of your yearbook. Okay, I want to do some thank yous. So Mark Malmer, thank you so much. Gib, thank you also. Why We Sail, thank you so much. Ben Speasons, thank you so much from Canada. We've got Ashley Shutter. How cool. Great to hear from you guys.
Ashley.
And let's see. Derek Hale. We've got Carlos Belanga. I love saying your name. And then Nicholas Anderson, Michael Novakowski, Ron Hall. Let's see. Mark L. He says, where will you go after the Galapagos? Can't wait to see the videos.
We will be going to the Marquesas, or French Polynesia. So that's the actual Pacific crossing, going from the Galapagos to the Marquesas.
Mm-hmm. And then Tim Herzog, and then Daniel Crank.
Donald Crank.
Oh, what did I say?
Daniel.
Oh, sorry, Donald. And then also just wanted to mention we will be doing a giveaway today. So anyone who donates $5 or more on Super Chat, or through our donate link, projectatticus.live. We'll put you in the drawing to win anything from our merch store, and then we're also going to do Atticus trivia at the end.
Yeah, and the PayPal link that's in the description, or projectatticus.live, is better for us. They take less of a cut than PayPal does.
Then Super Chat.
Than Super Chat, exactly. Mm-hmm. So, but thank you guys so much for the Super Chats and for the PayPal donations. Really appreciate it. And let's keep going. So the other thing that we were going to kind of talk about a little bit too was, what was the second topic there, bud?
Oh, we were going to talk about paperwork.
We're basically on that now.
Yeah, and then the last thing we were going to talk about was what boat projects we have to do before the crossing.
Yeah, and so one person was asking, if we're going to haul out before we go across, and that's a good question. Oh, God, talk about projects that we did and have to redo. I'm going to try and make this brief, but if you guys remember, we replaced the bobstay chain plate a couple months ago when we hauled the boat out. Well, long story short, if this is the bobstay chain plate and this is the toggle that connects to it. The toggle, you might remember from the episode, had just a little bit of room between it and the bow of the boat. Well, now that we've kind of tuned the rig and tightened everything up, things have shifted so that now the toggle is actually touching the bow of the boat. And that means that the force on that toggle might not go perfectly in line with the fittings and with the wire, but it might get a little bit of an angle because it's, contacting the bow, and that could be bad. It could break the toggle. And so I've got to come up with a solution for that. Mm-hmm. It may involve having to haul the boat out and change the bobstay chain plate again. So there you go. If we have any advice, it's just don't give up, don't quit, and just try to stave off depression.
Yeah.
You know what I
and
mean?
then we've also,
try to stay positive.
We've also still have to fix the River of Love. That's on our list.
Yeah.
Jordan's basically finished installing the water maker, but we do need to test it. We're at the marina right now, so we're not going to do that until we take Atticus out for a little sea trial in about a month. We'd like to get a life raft, and I'm working with a sponsor because they are pretty expensive, so it'd be nice if we could get a deal on one instead of having to buy it full price. Mm-hmm. And that takes a lot of time.
Sorry, I keep trying to interrupt. I'm just excited because I did install a water maker, which is exciting. We have a water maker aboard the good ship Atticus, and so it's the power. It's made by Katadyn, and it's the Power Survivor 40E, and I believe it is the smallest 12-volt DC water maker on the market.
It's very fitting.
It produces 1.5 gallons of water per hour. So more or less, in comfortable situation, we can have enough drinking water for both of us in about 2 hours of running that thing. Mm-hmm. And so our plan is, and it runs at about 4 amps at 12 volts, which is very low. It's other bigger models are more efficient out there, but they do draw more. Whereas this one, it just kind of chugs along, you know what I mean? You barely even know it's going. You just flip that switch, it's
it's a lot like Atticus.
Yeah. And so so that's the new setup that we've got. So that's going to be our how we get water going across the Pacific.
And then Nicholas Wiggins was asking, are you going to install a shower in the cabin now that you have the water maker? And negatory. I don't think Atticus is. It would be very uncomfortable to have a shower down below.
Yeah, right now we're just trying to do everything that it takes to do this Pacific crossing. And so actually what I did just about a week ago is I sat down and looked at our list that's this freaking long, and I just started asking myself, okay, what projects do we need to do? Because if we don't do them, we might die. And I took those ones. I'm like, okay, you go up here. And we might get to do some projects that don't make that list before we leave, but not many. Mm-hmm. Because the projects that are on that we may die list, that there's enough of them to keep us busy for the rest of our time here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so anything indoor shower would be amazing. I think that might be something that we might just do on the next boat, because
showering in the cockpit, it's not messy, it's convenient, it's easy.
And I think that my problem for a little while is I kept trying to pretend like Atticus was 36, 37 feet, right? And so I kept doing things and having visions of it like it was a bigger boat, but smaller boats just have certain, what do you call limitations. Thank you. They just have certain limitations, and if the more that you sort of just accept that, the happier you're gonna be, in my opinion. And so showering inside, it's not really in the cards for Atticus unless we did a complete interior remodel, which I don't think that's.
Guy Miklos was asking Jordan, just how big is the cruising community? Are there a lot of full-time cruisers out there?
Yeah, there definitely is. Real quick, I've seen a handful of people ask about the PayPal link.
Oh.
It's projectatticus.live,
Mm-hmm.
and there should be a link in the description, but if not, it's just projectatticus.live. Yeah, so as for the number of people in the cruising community, there's a lot of people. And in fact, it's kind of interesting because, it's sort of like if you graduated from, your high school class of 20 whatever, it's like you knew those people, even though there's still people attending that school and you don't know any of them, right? And it's kind of that way when you're cruising. Like in the Western Caribbean, we were like the class of 2018 or whatever, because we kind of traveled down the Western Caribbean at somewhat the same pace as a bunch of other people. In fact, we were a lot slower because of the videos and the channel. If you were just cruising, then yeah, you would just kind of link up with people and move along at the same pace. So it can be an extremely social experience.
And you'll see in our next episode, this coming episode, it's about an anchorage that we went to, again, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I was actually trying to plan a surprise birthday party for Jordan out there. And it didn't work out, so we had his birthday a couple weeks ago in Bocas. But everyone on the chain was excited to still come out and try to hook up with us while we were at this anchorage. So we went to this anchorage, and the first night it was just ourselves and our friends on Ruby Vi, who we've been buddy boating with. That's been really fun to share so many experiences with them. But then the next day there was 8 different boats in the anchorage, and it was really cool because we knew all of them. And so we had this huge beach bonfire, and then once we left that anchorage, it was kind of like what do you call it? Not a rite of passage. It's like we graduated from that class and we were moving on. So it was really kind of sad.
Yeah, that was real sad. And we were kind of calling ourselves the Corona crew.
Yeah.
Because that was really unique, because you typically have people moving on through at a certain pace, but because of coronavirus, it was sort of like a lot of cruisers got backlogged because all of that movement stopped, and so everyone piled up in a way. And so there was an abnormal number of young cruisers that are on the move, youngish, you know what I mean? Like the point being that they're really traveling, and so that was just really neat, that we got to have such a cool group for a while. And the next video will have a really good little segment on it. It's too bad that you guys didn't get to know a lot of them just because of the limitations of the videos and everything, but I think it'll be a really nice sentimental episode.
Actually, it was funny coming to Shelter Bay Marina because Shelter Bay Marina was on a really strict lockdown also during the pandemic, and it's interesting to hear. It feels like this is a different little microcosm, and how they handled it was so interesting compared to how the Bocas crew handled it. And just one thing I thought was really cool is Juanjo, the manager here, he started a ice cream club for the little kids around the dock, and he would give them homework, and then they would come and he would grade their homework, and then if they got it right, he'd give them ice cream. And so he really made the experience, I think, as good as it could be. So we're in his office right now, and there's all these pictures drawn by kids, and I think they had a lot of time to kill during the lockdown. Anyways, next question.
Yeah, so Rob F, I'm not allowed to talk about this very long, but I will say Rob F asks, what's y'all's dream boat?
Oh, great.
And I'm not going to go into it, but if you guys are familiar with Jimmy Cornell, he's written all the books on sailing, right? Especially World Cruising Routes is his big book, and everyone uses it. And he has a Garcia Explorer 45. And if you ever want to just look at boat porn, go look that bad boy up. It's expensive, but man, it is so cool because it's sort of it's like a luxury exploration sailboat, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So made out of aluminum. It's just, oh my gosh, I love everything about it. So go check that out.
Linda Rothschild had a really interesting question. She said, what is your motivation for wanting to cross the Pacific?
I think you should answer that.
Yeah.
You know, because it, like, Desiree, ironically, like, in our discussions of whether we should do it this year or not, you know, with coronavirus and everything else, I'd say Desiree was more gung-ho about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were talking about returning to the States, actually, and maybe looking for a fixer-upper boat that we could upgrade to and maybe have a baby or two, and wait for things to kind of get back to normal, and then try to cross the Pacific again in a couple of years. But I don't know. I guess for me, it's just this. I don't know. It just feels like this big rite of passage for sailors. I just kind of want to test myself. I think sailing is cool. Well, not only sailing, but cruising is cool because it really challenges your brain and your partnership and your trust in other people and yourself and your boat to kind of like push your limits. And every time I've been scared or seasick or things have gone terribly, when we overcome that, it just feels so good. And so I think I'm like addicted to that, like always looking for what's next. And
kind of overcoming challenges.
Yeah. And so right now, like the Pacific crossing is like this obvious goal that like I really want to do.
Yeah.
And then when Jordan was trying to convince me to sail around the world, he showed me the movie Beyond the West Horizon, which was a documentary done by the Hiscocks.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a couple in their like 70s aboard a 30...
Were they in their 70s at the time?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, yeah, it was a 30-footer. This was in the late 60s, early 70s,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And so I just their portrayal of French Polynesia was just so ridiculously captivating that I don't know, I'm so fascinated by it, and it's something that I've never experienced, and so I really want to get to the other side. And yeah.
I think that's a great way to put it. I don't think we want to cross the Pacific because what's over there is so much better than what's over here. I mean, I'm sure some of it is, for sure. I mean, there's certain things like freediving and spearfishing in the Tuamotus. I really, really want to do that. You know, those coral atolls. I can't wait to see the Marquesas, right? These giant mountainous islands. But at the end of the day, I think that's it. It's the challenge. It's setting a goal that is so barely, it seems impossible, and then going for it. And a lot of people have crossed the Pacific, so I don't want to make it sound like we're doing something outrageous, but in a way it is pretty hard for us to do with Atticus, right? That boat is old, and it's and I'm juggling with a lot of the age-related problems still. And so in a way, taking that boat across the Pacific will almost be the culmination of so much of what we've taken on since we bought the boat, you know, a long time ago. And so I'm saying it with way too many words what Desiree was saying, that I think that's it. It's just like reaching for hard to obtain goals, you know. Yeah.
I saw another really good. Oh, Joshua Koski was asking, does Atticus play music, CDs, or stream music? And we basically just download music on Spotify on our phones, and then Bluetooth with our Bluetooth speakers. Nothing fancy. When we bought Atticus, Jordan installed some fancy speakers, but they broke.
Yeah, and anymore, like, you know, you could take that example and take it to so many aspects of our life, right? Like, even with downloading movies and stuff, we just download movies on Netflix or on Amazon Prime, just have them kind of downloading whenever we have internet. It's kind of nuts how many technologies actually make cruising simpler and easier. You know what I mean? It is pretty fascinating, and so music being one of those.
And it's fun meeting other cruisers because you do like a flash drive swap and get movies and music. Let's see. I just saw a cool. Oh, Morgan Hansen. This is very fitting. Was asking, hey guys, have you noticed prices for varnish, chip brushes, painter's tape, etc. where you've traveled? I'm cruising in 2021, planning on bright work for some income. Should I stock up in the States on supplies?
How big is your boat? That's the real question.
And it sounds like he wants to do it for work, though.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
okay. But even still, it depends on how big your boat is. And I'm starting to learn that because I just but got rid of a lot of that kind of stuff. Like thinners and... we just had way too much on the boat when we left the U.S., and I basically forget it's even there, and then I end up buying something. So my point is that especially if you have enough foresight and enough time to plan, you can get anything, really.
That's true.
The point is like, well, do you need it tomorrow and you didn't know you were going to need it tomorrow? That's the kind of thing that you should have on board. But like, how often is that going to be a paintbrush? Not very often.
But like Albright or the systems that are hard to get, depending on what varnish you like working with, it could be a good idea to stock up on that.
Yeah, but even that, I would say that it's not worth taking up the space if your boat's small. That's because true. All you need to do is think ahead. So say okay, I'm going to get a lot of work done in Shelter Bay. You can contact the marina, you can contact people here, see if you can get stuff shipped ahead of time. They've got a chandlery here, so you could contact the chandlery and like have something shipped to the chandlery, have them hold it for you. There's just so many options, or even just the day you get here.
Yeah.
Have a list of all the things you're going to need, and it'll probably be here in 2 weeks, right? And so, take 2 weeks to relax or do whatever and wait for your stuff to get here.
Yeah, we found in most areas where there are a lot of cruisers, like Panama, Guatemala, Honduras, there's always some kind of mail forwarding service. So, like, you can get stuff shipped to Amazon, and then you provide an address. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
so there's just an address in Miami
there you go.
That you can ship things to, and then they will just ship it to you.
Yeah.
And you'll have an account with them, and they'll charge you by weight. The ones that we're using are actually by air, unless it's really heavy. And right now we're paying $4 a pound, which is like
it's not bad.
So
right now.
Small,
Valeria D'Souza is asking about my blue-green swimsuit. Girls gotta do what a girl's gotta do. I getcha. I put the link to that swimsuit in the description of last week's episode. So hopefully that helps.
We should do some super chat thank yous and PayPal donation thank yous.
All right. You want to jump off?
Yeah. So we got Nicholas Kitchens, George Mortstadt.
Nice.
Your quality control. Okay. Fabio P. We got Vento Lines, Aaron Krebs, Todd Dupler. We've got Doug Higgs, Andrea, Jeffrey Crockett, Jim Wolfmeyer, Dave Richmond, Garth Barrier, and Dave actually says that he sent us a insurance person.
Oh,
that's
Dave.
great.
That's
Thanks, man.
Awesome.
Cache Canada, George Larson II.
And he says, how many kiddos came trick-or-treating? There was like 10 kids in our marina, and I just loaded them up with candy.
I was doing the canal transit, and Desiree was here just handing out candy to children. Mike Duels, Fung Tran, Bill's Toys, Jimmy Powers, Fred Perdue, Gibb says, hey Jordan, is there a third crew member on the way? Not yet, but we will be working on it shortly. Earl Hunt, Patrick McSweeney, and then they ask, have you seen any single parents living the cruising life? We haven't, but at the same time, we haven't been involved with a lot of the family cruising scene.
True.
So like the people, our buddy boats right now, our buddy boat, they have 2 kids. And the kids are old enough, and the parents are young enough where like we get into that mix, and it's been a really cool relationship. But typically, like, family boats will often, like, have a family boat group. And so we haven't met any single parent cruisers, but that doesn't mean much.
There's got to be a Facebook group, though, for cruising with kids. So definitely look into that.
Okay.
Mark Rupert. We've got Mike. Jeff Owens. Nice to see your name. He says, I'm ignoring my family right now to watch this. Warren Drums. Carlos Jimenez. Sailing Mule. Nicholas Kitchens. RT Sales. J29. Joseph Klendhinder. Kleinheider. Sorry, Joseph. Katie Credell White. Rose Marie. Sebastian. Petracek. Ben Spiezens. Bob G. You guys are awesome. And for those of you who haven't heard yet, we are doing a giveaway for anyone who donates $5 or more on Super Chat or via our donate link at projectatticus.live, and then we'll also be doing a trivia at the very end.
Cool. Okay.
David Daly and Joe Dieter.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys very much. So let's get back into it. So we've got Darren Whittington asks, is anybody cruising with you across the Pacific? So that boat, and you guys have met them a handful of times now. The boat is called Ruby Vi, and they were there with us in Bluefields when we were hanging out with David, and we've more or less been cruising together for, a couple months now with the cruising that we have done. You met them when we went to Dolphin Bay where the chocolate farm was. So the party at the chocolate farm, they were there. And so anyway, we're going to be going across the Pacific with them. We're going to try to see the San Blas with them, but I don't know if we're going to make it just because of the projects we've got. But we'll be going to the Galapagos and then French Polynesia. And then it sounds like we'll probably stick together up until, who knows with our plans, right? But right now, in theory, we will be going to New Zealand, whereas it sounds like they'll probably continue on going west to Australia or something like that. So all the way up until Fiji-ish, we'll probably be buddy boating. So, and we're looking forward to it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially to buddy boat with a catamaran that has an ice maker, a bread maker, a pressure cooker, and obviously really cool crew. And
very cool people, John and Molly. If you guys are watching this, it's also mostly because we like you.
Yes, yeah. But Molly will come out and be like, here's some ice, and she'll just throw it over on Atticus. And I'm like, you just know me, you get me, Molly.
Yeah, the air conditioning is nice. Yeah. The air conditioning is really nice. Yeah.
Hyperlight 720 asks, any plans to install radar before the crossing? And go ahead.
No, that doesn't fall into the if we don't do this we might die category. So it doesn't quite make the list. Basically the only thing that did make the list that might not eventually lead to us dying is the River of Love.
Yeah.
The River of Love would never kill us.
But it's so annoying.
But it's just so annoying.
Is slightly dangerous because it gets slippery down there when it's slippery. Full. A couple of times I've almost eaten it.
Right. For those of you that haven't heard or don't remember, the River of Love is basically water leaks into the boat when we heel, and I've found the source of it, and it's the side deck scuppers. The side deck scuppers have a T in them so that the cockpit scupper can drain to it, like the small little cockpit scupper where your butt is when you're sitting. And so that T is kind of a monstrosity because it's an 1.25 inches down to 5/8 or something like that. And so it's this giant T, and the hose isn't on it very good, and the whole thing is poorly done. And so when we heel, that joint goes underwater, and it just leaks constantly. And so I need to just completely redo that whole setup. It's a simple fix. I've actually got new T's, I've got new hoses, I've got a plan, I've got it all. The problem is actually getting to where they are. it's gonna be an absolute nightmare. And then the other problem is that to do all this, I'm gonna have to remove the scupper and disassemble it, which means if it rains, like the water from half of the boat is going to go into this inside of the boat, right? And so like I have to start and finish the project before it rains. And it rains all the time here. And so I'm like so not looking forward to that.
That'll be fun. Brian Keck, Darren Whittington, and Philip Marsh are asking about music. Jordan and I both really like Radiohead. I like super weird music. Most people don't like my music, so yeah. And then as far as maybe having a Spotify list of our music, yeah, we could definitely work on that. And then somebody was asking about a blues music band called Tedeschi Trucks Band. Have you heard about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll check it out. Thanks, Philip.
So Badger Dog asks a really interesting question. Says, have you found it harder to be impressed by beauty and sights since you started cruising?
We talk about this a lot, actually.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm less impressed by sights and beauty, but I am more numb to experiences. So things that when we first started cruising would be utterly mind-blowing now are just like a really good day. You know what I mean? Like a solid day.
For example, like having a dinghy, when we first got Little Shit, I thought it was so cool that you could just take this little boat wherever you wanted to and speed around. And like we went on like full day trips on Little Shit, and it was awesome. And then now I just think of a Little Shit as like our means of transportation. And sometimes, you know, we're going back to the boat and we're just trying to get there quickly. But we'll have to force ourselves to like maybe kill the engine and just float there and look around and realize we're the only people just floating in this awesome little floating home. And yeah, I definitely have to remind myself how cool it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, and you can just translate that to so many different things. I mean, I just remember, our first time taking Little Shit to the restaurant, remember?
Yeah.
It was like on the next key over.
Yeah.
And it was, a 25-30 minute dinghy ride. And I just remember like we rolled up and like the sun had set already, so it was like getting kind of dark, and we're like, oh, we like tied up to the cleat, and we're like, are we like allowed to enter the restaurant from the water, And it just felt so cool.
Yeah.
It felt so cool.
Yeah.
And now, like that is just absolutely normal.
Yeah.
It's no different than if we were to park in a parking lot, you know?
Which is why it's really cool running into cruisers who just started cruising, or to like have visitors come and like see our lifestyle through their eyes with fresh eyes, and it really helps us remember to like snap out of it and enjoy these opportunities.
Right. Sure. Yeah. And that goes into, I mean, gosh, just think about all the things we've gotten used to, right? Like cruising up to an island, and just like there's ocean. Well, now there's an island, and then you go up to it and you find a little cut in the reef and you go into it and you anchor. I mean, that experience at first was like so intense that it was exhausting, like emotionally exhausting, right? And now it's fun. It's really fun, but it's definitely.
A couple of people were asking about if we have a Bitcoin account, and we don't, but it is on my to-do list. So thanks for the advice. I will look into it. And then I Sell with Style asks, do you guys see yourselves doing this forever or only for a few more years?
Yeah, I mean, I see us doing it forever, but I also want to have options. That's kind of like my big thing, and I think we agree on that, right? So, and
I'm excited we're kind of thinking, cross the Pacific, then start thinking about kids, because I'm 34 years old, so the clock is ticking for me if we want to have kids, and so I'm thinking, in that year or two when we first have a kid or two, it would be really cool to kind of settle down in a place where we can get another fixer-upper boat that's a little bit big, and we can outfit that for our boat for the next 5 to 10 years. And so during that time, I'm really excited about doing things that most people take for granted, like driving to the grocery store, or having a hot shower, or being able to stand up when I do my exercises. So I think it'll always be a pendulum with our life, one extreme to the next. I definitely want to always sail and be pushing ourselves and doing interesting things. But I am really excited for a little house hiatus, or not even house, just land hiatus.
But I think that, I'm not trying to push my feelings on yours, but I do think that it's the pendulum thing. I think we've been on Atticus for a long time.
6 years.
And we've been on, having those, what would you say, the sacrifices that you have to make on a boat like that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that our sort of desire for certain types of comfort is maybe at an all-time high, you know what I mean? But I don't think if I had those comforts, I don't think I'd want to stay ashore for a long period of time. Right. I think I'm totally enamored by the thrill of voyaging, you know what I mean? I think, that's as well as I could put it.
Jim Wolfmeyer says, is there any food or drink you two miss while cruising?
Not really. Well, in some places,
IPAs.
Beef. Oh, craft beer. Craft beer for sure. I mean, it's something that you want to talk about, trying to appreciate something. It is harder for us to appreciate some cruising experiences. It is so easy for me to appreciate the beer section of even just an average grocery store in the United States. It's just beer as far as the eye can see. And I mean, 12 different craft beers to pick from minimum, right? I mean, that's amazing. Yeah. Try to, next time you're at the grocery store grabbing some beer or wine or whatever, just stand there and look at the abundance, right? And then, it's incredible.
For me, we can definitely have salad on Atticus, lettuce and fresh greens, because we do have a refrigerator, but I do all of our shopping and I provision once a week or sometimes once every week and a half. And so I buy a lot of stuff and shove it all in the refrigerator. And so I don't have a lot of room in our refrigerator. And so lettuce is so fragile that you really have to have a lot of room to not damage it. So I just gave up on buying lettuce unless I will eat it that day. And also it takes a long time to sanitize it and dry it and then, put it somewhere where it's not going to get squashed. So I miss salads. And so whenever we go out to a restaurant or something, I'll get a salad. And I know I'll be hungry later, but I'm it was worth it. Right. I'll have a can of tuna later.
Yeah. And then the one other thing I can think of is, high quality beef or steaks. It's something that you won't find in so many places. And if you do find it, it's expensive and probably not even good quality. So that's another thing is affordable, good quality beef or something. Yeah.
But the produce that we've had in the last 6 years in the Western Caribbean is pretty incredible. So we do eat really, really well. Yeah. We have a lot of fresh vegetables.
Yes, totally.
Okay, so I'm going to do a couple more super chat thank yous. And just to let you guys know who are just joining us, we are going to do a giveaway as soon as I finish these thank yous. So anyone who's donated $5 or more via Super Chat or via our donate link, which is projectatticus.live, will be entered into a giveaway to win something from our merch store. So thank you so much.
I've got one question I want to answer. Do you want me to do it after this?
You can do it.
Okay. Sorry guys. This is a great question. Rocky Mountain Moments asks, are you going to duplicate any primary systems such as water maker, electronic systems, navigational systems, rigging replacement due to Pacific remoteness? That's such a good question. And that's so much of what takes up my mind space. God, I'm thinking about that a lot lately. As for the water maker is actually run by a 12-volt motor, but it can be manually operated. So to me, that's redundant. I have all of the spares for the water maker, and in fact, there's a couple spares that didn't come with their normal spares kit. That I was just sitting there looking at the water maker today and thinking, what happens if that breaks? What happens if that breaks? What happens if that breaks? And I'm looking at my spares and being like, okay, what about that? Yep, got it. And so there's actually 3 things I found, and they're the actual nylon hose barbs that the hose is attached to, and if those were to break, we could be screwed. So anyway, the point being that I kind of go through that mental process with most of our systems, and it really comes down to having the spares at hand with most of your questions. Navigational systems, we have redundancies in the fact that our phones, like her phone has all the charts on them, as well as navionics. My phone has navionics. Our tablet has navionics. And then we have a Garmin GPS unit. If we were to lose electricity, that's a really good question. We do have a sextant, and we are going to have large-scale charts of the Pacific with cruising guides that have charts of the actual individual harbors and stuff.
And then rigging replacement, you got a bunch of extra Dyneema.
Yeah, we have a spare like wire for an actual shroud or a stay, and we have stay lock fittings, so we could fashion a new one. But really, I'd probably just use Dyneema, which we do have plenty of Dyneema. But really, the odds of some sort of a rigging failure that doesn't result in the rig coming down is pretty low. I mean, if it were to happen, we're ready for it. But it is something that I like about a catch rig, is that if you lose the main, there's a chance that you won't lose the mizzen and vice versa. But really, with the rigging, I'm just trying to make sure that it's really, really strong. And so at this point, I have a lot of faith in all of the systems with all the components, with a few exceptions, and those are going to be taken care of with our project list here. So, but it's a great question, because it's like redundancy and thinking through all the potential failure is definitely what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great question. Okay, Chris242, thank you so much for your super chat, and sure, feel free to email me at des@projectatticus.com. I'd be happy to answer your questions. Tim
Connectney. Sorry. You want me to take over?
Yeah, you're better.
Jeff Knutson. Any chance of going to Pitcairn? Our friends want to go, John and Molly, but there's no good anchorage there. And Atticus, we just had an experience in an unprotected anchorage, and it was a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'm into it so much.
I was down for 3 days straight, just going darker and darker into this deep, dark spiral.
It was bad. Darren Whittington, thank you very much. Jen Spahn, can you read if there's a question there?
No question.
Joshua Koski, Papillon Erica, Rod Brandon, Vince, MJ Clements, Nicholas Kitchens, Chris 242, Mark Graham again. Boy, Mark, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
So real quick, Sheen Machine is on the scene again. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't see that from Rod Brandon. Okay, I gotta read that. Sheen Marine is on the scene once again, saving the day in a nautical way.
Oh, nice.
Oh, dude. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay.
Well, but real quick, he just wants to say, he says, Sheen Marine helps boaters realize their vessel improvement dreams in South Central Ontario and around the globe. Wow.
Do you do P&I insurance?
Yeah, that would be great. We would really appreciate that. Mark Graham, 400 AGL. Stacy DePaolo. Hey, Stacy, thank you. Kenny Allison, Mike, and Neil Henderson, and Michael Armstrong. So guys, really, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate the support. So now it is time for the giveaway. But stick around, even if you're not called, because we are going to do some Atticus trivia. Did we come up with a
Yes, I did.
Trivia?
So, actually, Dave helped me with this one.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Dave.
So, while I get the giveaway winner ready, what was I have it written down actually.
Oh,
just read it.
Real quick, we didn't notice, but Mark Graham did ask a question.
Oh.
So do you want to get to that after the...
No, let's do his question
Okay.
first.
Sorry, Mark. Just saw that. He says, can you tell me your favorite and scariest moment?
Ooh. Favorite, definitely like that night coming home after David dropped us off. Like, it's hard to convey in the video, but I remember Jordan went down below and was cooking dinner, thank you. And I just went up on deck and just watched the mountains and the stars and like heard a couple of cayucos like rowing by in the distance. And I was just filled with so much like love and hope. It sounds so cheesy, but it was my favorite moment on Atticus.
Yeah.
I just felt so much, like love.
Yeah. And like just sort of, hope for humanity in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we can connect with someone there, like cross cultures and cross like, economic status, then it just gives you a lot of hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I felt like cared for too.
Yeah. And then scariest, God, really like from an actual, like the amount of fear I experienced, it was probably maybe when we were off the coast of Nicaragua and there was that trawler heading right for us.
Yeah. I
think in that moment when I saw that, like the trawler going right at us, and I was just like, shit. I don't think I've ever in my life actually had a moment of panic where I just froze. And for I don't know how long, maybe like 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds, I was literally just like what do I do? The giant trawler is gonna come like attack us.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was probably scariest.
Yeah, for me too as well.
Maybe when Atticus was pinned to the dock in Cuba.
Not as scary as pirates though.
Yeah.
Sure. So we just answered the same answer. That's lame.
No, but fair enough.
Yeah.
I think it's for brevity's sake. Yeah.
Okay, so the trivia question.
So there you go,
is,
Mark.
What was Desiree's?
Wait, you didn't do the giveaway.
I'm going to do the giveaway while people answer the trivia.
Sorry.
What was Desiree's first sewing project on Atticus?
Ooh, nice
I'm going
one.
to figure out who won our giveaway.
I gotta watch
in
this.
the
Okay,
meantime.
so what was the?
Who am I?
Yeah. What are we doing here?
Come on, a random number generator. The heck?
All right, so we've got the question is what was Desiree's first? So SV Someday got it. Nice work, SV Someday. Boy, jumped on that.
Jump on it. Nice.
Did you hear me?
Congratulations. Yeah, awesome. Just shoot me an email at des@projectatticus.com and let me know what you guys want. You probably have like everything from our merch store now, so
We're gonna have to come up with something just for you guys.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
And Steve and Darla, before we even had any Project Atticus swag, they made T-shirts that said "Temporary Project Atticus swag."
Yeah,
which
that
was awesome.
that was very cool. Yeah, that was
Okay.
super cool.
I need to concentrate on the.
All right. In the meantime, I will entertain you guys by reciting a poem.
29 or no 25.
I don't know any poems. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Aren't there any good questions? 25.
Yeah. Oh, I can look at. Oh, Captain Coconut asks favorite Panamanian food. It's a good question, man. I don't know how much like food is specifically Panamanian in the sense that before the Spanish came here, there weren't many people living in Panama. It's to the south you had the Incan Empire and that whole culture. To the north you had Aztecs and Mayans. But in Panama, it was kind of in between. And there were people that lived here, but just not many. And so the cuisine doesn't feel very like, what would you say? Like established, like it would be in Mexico or Peru, But that said, they make pataconas here, which is like they fry plantains and smush them. And so imagine it's like French fries, but in a cake. Not a cake.
I'm
like
gonna take over here.
You know what I mean? Like
I know what you mean.
What?
Sorry.
I'm killing it over here. We're having a conversation
So
about
entertaining.
smushing plantains. People are loving it.
Yeah.
People are just
eating it up.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're a little bit tired today because the winds have been really high.
Yeah, well, the hurricane that just hit Nicaragua is actually affecting us. We're getting pretty strong winds here.
So we haven't been sleeping really well at night because all the boats are like making crazy noises and you hear people's rigging clanking around and you're just hoping no boat's line snaps open. So
real quick, sorry, a lot of people are like, what was the answer to the question? I didn't actually say. It was curtains.
Who got it? Stephen Darling.
Yeah, it was Sailing SV Someday. I'm like, oh, SV Someday got it.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so it was curtains. So Desiree made the curtains on Atticus. And that was her very first sewing project.
And the winner of the giveaway is Cachet Canada. And I've been seeing your comments on YouTube for the last couple of months, so really excited to connect. So,
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, send me an email at des@projectatticus.com and let me know your address, what size and color, an item you'd like from our merch store, which is linked in the description below, and I'll get that to you as soon as possible.
Cool. I just want to point out, Why We Sail says Jordan rocks.
Yeah, he does.
Number one comment. Number one comment.
Yeah. Do you want a shirt?
Why We Sail, I like you. I don't know what it is, but I like you.
Something about you.
Something about you. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
All right.
All
well,
right.
I think that's about it, guys. I hope that the technical stuff worked out, that it looked good and that the audio is in sync and everything. We're trying something new, and nothing went wrong. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we are like in internet land and air conditioning in an office, which is very different from floating in the middle of nowhere in Atticus.
Yeah, sure enough.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week for the episode about a super rolly anchorage, but also a very beautiful anchorage.
And saying goodbye to our friends, to the Corona crew.
Mm-hmm. And thank you so much, Dave, for always being our moderator. Everyone say thank you, Dave, because he's amazing. And he does this super late his time in Ireland. So thanks for staying up for us, Dave. And if we didn't get to your question tonight, try to hop on our next live stream, which will be in 2 weeks.
We should be we're going to try something different. In 2 weeks, we're going to do a patron-only live stream where our patrons are going to be able to interact and chat on the live stream, and it'll be a private live stream. But then after the fact, we're going to make it live. So if you've got some time in 2 weeks from now, and you're kind of hoping to watch a live stream, then you can hop on that. And then of course, if you're a patron, then you're going to be in on the live stream. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we're going to try. It's a new thing. And then, the goal being every 2 weeks a live stream. One week is going to be patron only. 1 week is going to be totally public.
And Daniel Oliver, I'm so sorry, I forgot to say extrusion. So extrusion, extrusion.
We didn't even come up with a drinking word.
Yeah, sleep deprived.
Oh, my bad, guys. My bad. I actually remembered somebody said David should be the drinking word.
Oh, that would have been great.
Okay. I'm like, if you're watching this
now
after the fact,
future Jordan,
rewind and watch it again and drink with David being a drinking word. There you go.
Or just rewatch it from the beginning and David is a drinking word.
We're going back to the future.
Strap in.
Yeah, strap in.
All right.
1.21 gigawatts? Sorry. Oh boy. It's happening.
All right. We're going to get some sleep tonight, hopefully.
Okay.
See you guys.
BBLLB says, we drank anyway. Good.
Nice.
I'm glad. Okay.
All right. See you later, Jeff Owens, Dominique Margila, Daniel Oliver, the Ethan Marshall, Torque Engineering, and Stefan Fay. And
Daniel Oliver. Okay. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank